Build Your Business listeners. This is Matt Reynolds, your host for the podcast, and you are listening to what we are calling the legacy episodes. And really, these are the pre-episodes that really led to this podcast, the Build Your Business podcast. This is really my life's work and my brother's life's work in building your business. And so they were originally published in the Barbell Logic podcast as part of the Principles or Coaching Success series, but really touch on similar topics to the Build Your Business podcast: how to improve your productivity, how to set and accomplish your goals, deprioritize urgent tasks, to focus on what is most important to you, and most importantly, to become a better person and leader and business owner overall. I'm proud to bring you these podcasts. Again, many years of life's work, several years of podcasts, and several decades of business ownership. Hope you enjoy them and learn from them. You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show. You're listening to the Barbell Logic podcast. This is another episode of the Coaching Success series. I'm your host, Matt Reynolds. Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful Christmas this weekend and early next week. I'm sure there's all sorts of festivities going on. I'll dive right in this morning. I want to talk about something that's I'm really passionate about, and it's the idea that coaching is secondary, business is first, and how do we approach things in order to be an owner, a successful owner of a business. And so for most of you that are listening to this, whether you're coaches or not, maybe you're technically proficient in something else and you're a business owner, maybe you're a butcher or a baker or whatever, or a candlestick maker. And so one of my favorite stories, and this really comes a lot from the E-Myth Revisited. So if you haven't purchased that book, that's a great book. It was monumental change in my life. And I've talked about this book several times on the podcast, but I actually want to dive into some stories in the book and talk about why it's so important. And so the book is built around, especially in the beginning, kind of a fictional story of a lady who's an incredible baker. And she's just incredible at baking pies and cakes and cupcakes and goodies. And she brings them to, Christmas parties and birthday parties and church potlucks and all that sort of stuff. And she's really incredible. I mean, her food is fantastic. And everyone always tells her, hey, Mary, you should open up a bakery. And she kind of, I don't know. I'm a good baker, but so no, really, if you opened a bakery, it would crush and they're not lying to her. She's got this incredible product. She's this incredible technician as a baker. I mean, she really does make some of the best pies and cakes and pastries and goodies on the planet. So eventually they convince her to open up a business, a bakery. She opens a bakery and she makes the best pies, cakes, and cupcakes and goodies on the planet. And the business fails miserably, because she doesn't know how to own or run a business. And I see this is the primary problem that I see in the fitness industry. I see it in every industry, of people who get technically proficient at a thing. They are a technician in their field. You could be the best coach in the world, and that doesn't mean that you're going to have a successful coaching practice if you don't know how to run a business. And so it requires a paradigm shift, a bit of a mental paradigm shift. So first, I would say that, does technical proficiency matter? Well, of course it does, because the quality of your product or the quality of your service is imperative to continue to not just get clients, but keep clients coming. If you offer them value, tremendous value for what they get, whether that's a product or a service, you have to have that, right? And so what will often happen is someone will spend many years becoming tremendously technically proficient in a skill like coaching, in-person coaching, online coaching, whatever the thing is, baking, accounting, and they're phenomenal at that job, which is the technical work of the business, which is incredibly important. It's the foundation of the business, is the technical work that actually gets done. And so I don't want to act like the technical work is not important. It's extremely important. But the technical business alone doesn't have anything to do with whether your business is successful. And so in every business, there are technicians, people that are actually on the ground doing the work. There are the managers, which are the people helping to organize and manage the technicians, as well as the other things like the financials and the paperwork and the systems and standard operating procedures and all that sort of stuff. And there are the owners, or the people out there who understand what it looks like to own a business, to market a business, to sell your product or service, to cast the vision for their employees or staff. In the beginning, when you are a one-man or one-woman show, you are all three of those. You are the owner, you are the manager, and you are the technician. And so if you are a one-man show or one-woman show running an online coaching business or a gym, you must recognize that all three of these things apply to you. Right now, you can only afford you, right? You can't hire any other employees often in the beginning. And so you absolutely have to provide excellent technical service. And coming back to the conversations we've had about urgent and important things, that technical service is often urgent and important. This stuff has to be done, and it's extremely important to be able to put out a high quality product or high quality service, to have something of high value to sell, to keep and retain clients. These things matter tremendously. But if that's all you ever do, and you don't take the time to spend the time doing the stuff that often people don't want to do, which is actually that second tier, which is the management tier of writing some of those systems and standard operating procedures. How do we go about doing things every day? How do we run payroll? How do we pay our invoices? How do we get paid? Point of sale stuff. How do we keep the business clean and looking nice? How do we present an excellent professionalism to our clients? That stuff has to be written down. So that's one step removed from the technician. You have to be a manager. We've had some of these conversations already about systems and standard operating procedures, but then there is a higher order of thinking, which is the owner. And that person should always be thinking about how to grow the business, how to make the business more efficient, how to get more work out of their employees or out of their staff, how to provide a higher quality of service to their clients. So how to be able to pay your staff well, so they make more money per hour. What you want is to be able to pay your staff more money per hour while making more money and providing more value to the client. That's the key. And these are the things that the technicians often don't think about because they're so focused in the technical aspect of their job. I've got to coach the person. I have to get them strong. I have to help them reach their goals, like whatever those things are. And those things are incredibly important. But here's the deal. You can't ever delegate or hire out the ownership position. That's you. Or if you have co-founders, it's you and your co-founders. But for many of you, it will just be you. You must, in the beginning, build the management process for your business. Things like the game plans, things like the execution or action item plans, the task lists, the systems, the standard operating procedures. And then those can begin to be, they can be delegated out to others who can begin to take on other management roles. One of the things that we've been incredibly blessed and lucky with at Barbell Logic is we started with this group of tremendous expert coaches. Some of those coaches over the years provided such incredible service to their clients, but then also really bought into the business and started to want to take a more active role in the business. And those coaches, who were often 1099 contractors, became elevated to employees and then full-time employees because they wanted to do additional work in the business beyond just the coaching. So most of us at Barbell Logic, not everybody, but most of us at Barbell Logic still coach, including me, including Andrew, including Nikki, right? My mission control, most of my leadership team are all coaches. We all still coach because we recognize the value of the technical aspect of the thing. But then you start to see buy-in from people. And this has to start with you. It starts with the owner. And no matter what you want, it's going to work top down. And so you have to start to identify the places where, okay, the technical aspect is the urgent and important work. The management aspect is also urgent and important, and sometimes it's unurgent and important. And so doing those things, like it's not necessary to build every system for your business tomorrow. So if you have a client at 9 a.m. or you've got online coaching due in 24 hours, there's more urgency there, and it's important. The systems and operating procedures and task lists and game plans and things like that, those are very important, but they're often less urgent. And so you have to start to carve out time in your day to build those so that you can create a core value and an atmosphere of not just technical proficiency, but managerial proficiency in your business. As time goes on, you'll be able to hire people out first that are technicians that are at the lowest wage job. So again, I've used the example before in a gym of hiring out the custodian. Very soon, very quickly, as an owner of a gym, you should not be cleaning the gym. You should have a system for cleaning the gym, and you should hire somebody to do that. And that's a technical aspect. But the thing that requires the most proficiency in fitness is the actual coaching. It's harder to find really good coaches, but they're out there. You can find them. And we've got scores of them that work at Barbell Logic or Turnkey coaches. And so we have people all over the world providing technical proficiency, great coaching, thousands of clients all over the world. And so then we set this atmosphere to be able to have our managerial system that runs incredibly smooth. As we've raised the Series A and talked to different investors, I made a video for them about how I just kind of pulled the curtains back and let them see our game plan system and our weekly reporting system. And we don't do a ton of meetings, and it's not TPS reports and KPIs and all that kind of stuff. It's a cleaner, smoother, more frictionless version of that for our business. And now I don't have to do a lot of that because I get to be the owner of the business. I'm the CEO, but this works the same even if you're a one-man show. And so then what you have to really focus on, and the reason that Mary the baker failed, is because one, she didn't focus on the managerial aspect of systems and standard operating procedures and how we do things and exactly when we open and turning on the open light and thinking about those things. And then you actually have to get into this third tier, which is the least urgent, but the most important thing, which is how to be an owner. And it's thinking about where the business is going to go, where it's going to be in 6 months or where it's going to be in a year or 2 years. What is your vision for that? What are the goals and actions and metrics that will drive the completion of that vision, right? To become exactly who you are and who you want to be. There is this piece of an owner is the person that really sets out to be really in the beginning, the primary salesperson. They are the marketer. They're the face of the business. Now, eventually you may have a big enough business that you can hire a sales team, but for most of you, you won't. You are going to be the primary salesperson as an owner. And that is one of the most important things you can do is to bring in new business. And then make sure you've got great systems in place and great technical proficiency so that you keep that business. And so this is where you have to make time in your schedule every day. If you are spending all your time working in your business and not working on your business, then you are just a technician. You're not a manager and you're not an owner. And if you're working in your business and you're working on your business for systems and standard operating procedures, you're a technician and a manager, but you're not an owner. But at the point when you start to think about who we really are, what our core values are, who we're going to be in the next several years, what our vision for the business is, when you are spending your time actually doing things like cold calling, which in the beginning needs, maybe even beyond the beginning for many years, needs to be the owner. When I call somebody and I'm doing a cold call or sales call, and they find out it's me, it's the CEO, it's the owner, it's the founder of the business, it makes a bigger impact than if I had someone on the sales team do it. Now, we have lots of people on the sales team that are fantastic, but ultimately that call from me is there's a higher return on investment there. Now, my time is maybe more valuable, but when I'm free to do those things, that's the thing that I'm best at. And so Barbell Logic has done a tremendous job of trying to free up my time, albeit here it is December 20th. It's been I've had a couple 16-hour days this week because everybody's trying to get all their meetings in, by Christmas and to take off the second half of the week. As a matter of fact, I'm taking my wife down to the cabin here in just a bit. So I'm going to record a couple podcasts this morning and then spend some time doing Christmas. But I spend a lot of my time recording podcasts, not just for this podcast, but being interviewed for other podcasts, being on YouTube channels, doing interviews, doing op-eds. We've got some exciting announcements coming up with a publishing deal for a book, TV shows that we're going to be on in the new year. We're going to talk about that, I think, in another couple episodes with Andrew and Nikki. We're going to do kind of a year-end review of what Barbell Logic was like. And so that is where my time is. My time is really spent as an owner and understanding that the business has slowly grown over time from what was once Reynolds Strong in early 2016 to what Barbell Logic Inc. is now, this big C corporation with B2C sales and B2B sales and government contracts and all that sort of stuff. I can't micromanage those things. You cannot do that as an owner. And so you have to have good people in place, good managers in place, even good kind of sub-owners in place. We're in a position where, Nikki Sims oversees Block and Andrew oversees TKC. And we've got this for our different products and our priorities and our services that we offer in the business. And they're sort of like the CEO of that individual piece of the company. And then they have tremendous managers underneath them and tremendous technicians underneath them to get the work done. In the beginning, that's all you, which means you have to look at your calendar on a weekly basis and actually carve out the time. it all comes back to this urgency versus importance, right? So the things in your life that are most important, things like faith and family and fitness, right? So you've got to carve out that time. I have to carve out time to make sure that I'm home at dinner, to be able to spend time with my family in the evenings, being dad and being husband. I have to carve out time for my spiritual disciplines in the morning. And if I don't do that, then my schedule fills up. And then I have to carve out time to be a CEO and owner of the business. I have to carve out time to actually talk to the investors, to travel on the business trips, meet the people and shake the hands and make the networking and do the stuff, to do the podcast, to do the interviews, to appear on the TV show, to write the books. That's what an owner does. And to set the value system, just like we talked about last week, the values and the tenets and the principles in the business, so that that flows from the top down. Because, man, it is your personality and your core values and the things that you live by as an owner. I know not everyone in our business aligns with me exactly, say, like politically or religiously or in some of those things. And that's perfectly okay. Personally, they don't have to, but they need to understand that the business is an outflowing of the owner. And if you're not clear on what those things are, then you're not really an owner. You're just a technician that's just fledgling in the business side of what you're trying to do. And so as an online coach or a coach in general, you may be an incredible coach, but if you don't take the time to get the systems to build the clientele, to build the client roster, to build up the roster on TKC, to build your clientele at your gym, the great conversations lately with Cody Miller at Strength Parlor and the work that he's doing, like I think he's really moved out of, and Cody, shout out to Cody if he's listening. So he's really moved out of the technical aspect of coaching. He has this incredible gym, beautiful gym, very clean, great systems in place for all that sort of stuff, great coaching, great clients, but he didn't have a great handle on the metrics, and therefore he couldn't have a great handle on the systems, all the systems that needed to be done, not for the technical aspect, but for the ownership and managerial aspect of the business, for the financials, for the P&Ls, for things like that. He's worked on that now, which means he's elevated himself not just into the managerial role, but now into an actual ownership role. And that's the kind of thing that you have to do. You've got to carve out the time to do that stuff. So because that stuff in your business is the most important and never the urgent stuff. How urgent is it to write a book? How urgent is it to be interviewed on podcasts? How urgent is it to go out and make sales? Well, it often feels it's never urgent today, but in the grand scheme of things, you see how important it is for the life of the business. You have to do those things. And so if you spend all your time in the technical trenches of coaching, then you will never grow your business. Now, you may not want a business as big as Barbell Logic. I think that most of you would not want a business as large as Barbell Logic. There's much simpler businesses that you can make a lot of money at. You can make six figures, mid six figures a year. We're in a really solid business with very few employees, with 2, 3, 4, 5 employees. And you can do that incredibly well. And most of you would probably want something like that. Like, yeah, pay me $300,000, $400,000 a year to run a business with 3 or 4 employees. It's simple. It's clean. It's not necessarily easy, but it's certainly not complicated. And that requires you to step out of the technical aspect of what you do. That doesn't mean that you literally take off your coaching hat 100% of the time. I still woke up early this morning, and the first thing I did was I broke down my online coaching videos. I was the technician there, right? Now, the clients that I coach are often carefully hand-selected clients that are important to the business and important to the life of the company, important to me, close friends, close family, things like that. But I was the technician. And then I spent time knocking out the urgent and important managerial stuff for me, which was emails and Basecamp notifications and working through systems and standard operating procedures. Had lots of meetings the last couple of days, laying those things out with the leadership team and the staff as a whole to get ready for kind of the year end and beginning of January. And then it frees up my time to do the thing that is the most important thing I do. You think about who else can go out and talk to investors and raise a Series A, or go raise millions of dollars. Who else can really be the voice of the business on podcasts and be interviewed? Or, and certainly we have incredible coaches like Nikki and Andrew and CJ that absolutely can do that. But ultimately, that load to bear is going to fall on my shoulders. And so if I've spent all my time filling my calendar with the technical aspect of the thing, then I never actually get to be the owner of the business, and the business never grows. So it wasn't until I was able to pull away some from the online coaching and focus on, 1, how do we grow the B2C business? 2, is there a vision and a plan to transition into B2B with Turnkey Coach and licensing out our software to other coaches? 3, is there really a way? Can we swing for the fences for government contracts? Because this is massive. I mean, government contracts have been a high percentage of our total revenue this year. Still under 50%, but still a healthy percentage of our revenue. That sort of stuff has to be done by an owner. Otherwise, you just get stuck in the daily grind of the coaching or of being the butcher or of baking the cakes and baking the pies. This is why Mary didn't succeed. If she knew how to run a business, then the bakery succeeds, especially if the product or service that she or you are providing is fantastic and provides high value to your client. So the thing to think about here again at the end of the year is not just after last week, not just who you want to be from a ethereal point of view, 30,000 foot view, what your core values and tenets and principles and things like that are for the business, which are extremely important. But then how are you actually going to carry that out? How are you going to make sure that that permeates every piece of the atmosphere and the culture of your business? That's what an owner does, right? So get out of the technical aspect of your business, not entirely, but create and carve enough time in your calendar so that you can tackle those things, those managerial roles, so that you can hand off some of those systems and standard operating procedures so that you're not doing the custodial work, so that you're not giving the tour of the gym, so that you're not doing when somebody bounces a credit card, how do you deal with it? Like those sorts of things. Like those systems need to be written by you and delegated out so that you can really focus on the thing that matters, which is owning the business, growing the business, making the business very healthy from a financial aspect, cultural aspect, from a growth standpoint. That's what owners do. So coaching is secondary. Business ownership is first. If you want to just coach as a side project and have 5 or 6 clients, that's perfectly fine. It's not a business. It's just a side gig. If you want to own this, if you want to do this, if you want to be able to leave the job that you hate and do the thing that you love, it's going to require not just being technically proficient in the technical aspect or the coaching, if you're a coach, but to actually move up into the managerial and ownership roles, actually do that. So for more information on this, I have no ties to E-Myth Revisited. It's a fantastic book. It's an easy book to read. You should be able to read it in 1 day, 2 days max. If you haven't read it, it will blow your mind. It's fantastic. It'll help you get in the mindset and have a paradigm shift out of the technician's role and into the managerial and ownership roles. So there you go. Ownership is first. Coaching or technical aspect is secondary. All right, that's it for today. This is probably my last one of the year. Hope you guys had a great 2023. Wishing you a wonderful 2024. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's. I'll be back next week to talk a little bit more about how we start to pull weeds as we start to think about these things and go, man, I am overwhelmed with the number of things that need to be done. There is often an aspect in business where people tell you to prioritize. I'm going to tell you to start next week by don't prioritize, deprioritize. All right, that's it for me. That's another Coaching Success episode on the Barbell Logic podcast. Hope this brought you value. If it did, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Merry Christmas again. Hope you have a wonderful weekend with the family. I hope everybody has safe travels, fair weather, maybe a little bit of white Christmas for some of you. We're not going to get it in Missouri. It's going to be rainy and gross. But that's okay. My brother's coming in from Boston. I'm super ecstatic to see him. He hadn't been here in 3 or 4 years, 5 years maybe. Excited to spend some great time with my family and just chill out a bit for the next week or so. Hope you guys have a great holiday, and I'll see you in the new year.